Obviously, the music is a huge element in the show, and we always try to bring in great 80s songs that people are familiar with, maybe certain Mexican songs or Latin songs that people may not know as well. That's a big element of it. We bring in a new character this season who's a talk show host.
Hi, Austin.
How are you?
I'm doing fine, and you?
Good, thank you.
Thank you so much for your time. A pleasure to talk to you. But before we talk about Acapulco, I'm gonna tell you that I love Zoe's
Thank you so much.
playlist. It's amazing. It's extraordinary, like the title says. Thank you so much for that too. But Acapulco, oh my God, so amazing. I had the chance to speak with Eugenio before about it. But let's start from the beginning. What is this idea came about for you? Like how did you join and want to do this project?
So I have a deal at Lionsgate Studios, and Lionsgate came to me and my producing partners, the Tannenbaums, Eric and Kim Tannenbaum, and said they really wanted to make a movie of How to Be a Latin Lover, which was an Eugenio Derbez movie, and they wanted to set it in the 1980s, kind of a prequel story to who he became. And they said, how can we do this as a series? And so I spent a lot of time trying to figure out how do we turn this into a show. And then I also brought in Jason Schumann and Eduardo Cisneros because I felt Eduardo is Latinx, and I felt like it was important to bring authenticity into the storytelling. And I am a white Jewish man from Los Angeles, so I felt like I wanted to be more accurate to the world. And initially, we started talking about the show kind of more based on the movie. And in the movie, his character, Eugenio's character, is a Lothario. He's a gigolo. His whole life is about him trying to sleep with older women and get money for that. And we said, could we do a show in the 80s that's kind of an origin story of him becoming this Latin lover and how he became a Latin lover? And then the more we talked about it, the more we thought that maybe that was a little bit limiting. And instead, we decided to tell more of a coming of age story of a character who's really striving for a better life for his family, who gets a job at this resort in Acapulco that's kind of the opportunity of a lifetime. But it's a kind of a slightly more morally questionable place. And he's got a very religious family. And how does he juggle the struggle between wanting to strive for a better life and make a better life for his family and some of the choices he might have to make at the resort. And once we kind of reframed it like that and made the modern day Maximo character really an aspirational character, somebody who's very successful, we could kind of see his rags to riches story and how he got there. And that just felt like a bigger idea to us. It felt like an idea that maybe had the opportunity for more heart and emotion and could be something that maybe people could relate to better. I think we can all relate to this idea of trying to strive for a better life for us and for our family. And that was really what we landed on, and that was the direction we went after that.
Yes. I love season 1 and I watched season 2. And what was like I don't want to spoil too much because people need to watch it, but what was the 80s elements that we're going to see on season 2?
Well, obviously the music is a huge element in the show, and we always try to bring in great 80s songs that people are familiar with, maybe certain Mexican songs or Latin songs that people may not know as well. That's a big element of it. We bring in a new character this season who's a talk show host of a show called The Spectacular, and I think that's very true to some of those 80s kind of a current affair, hard copy, kind of tabloid gossip journalism type shows. I think that's another 80s element. And then with the production design and the costumes and everything, I mean, we're always trying to kind of give an accurate but fun portrayal of what the world could have or did look like at the time.
Yes. I love the music, the way that the adaptations, like the versions in Spanish, it's not a version, it's like adaptation of those songs. It's amazing. I love everything about it. And also the hotel, like it's a character itself, right?
Absolutely.
So the colorful, like, was very difficult for you guys, like, to adapt that, like to find the hotel, the perfect place to be, the Las Colinas.
Absolutely. A lot of the credit goes to Nico Sabatini, who's our production designer, who's just incredible. But it was very important in the pilot, and Richard Shepard, who directed the pilot, who also directed the pilot to Zoe's with me and the Zoe's Christmas movie. he's such a visual director, and he really wanted it to feel like colorful and celebratory, so that every time we're at the resort, the resort really pops out at you. And I think he was the one who said, paint it pink, And so every time we go to the hotel, we go to this resort, we have to paint it pink every season. And then we have to bring in all these other elements to really give a feel of that. We built the entire lobby set to sort of make it this fun 80s wonderland, and just the unbelievable attention to detail within that. But very much we wanted to make it a world that you would want to visit, that felt very 80s, and that you knew when you were there, that's where we are, and also to contrast that with some of the life outside of the resort and the life back home. And so there was a lot of thought given to sort of the colors and the visuals of the home life versus the resort life.
Yes, I love that too. So also like that, I know there is like different storylines, like we have like Chad, we have Maximo, all of that. Is there any stories or anything that you can relate to back in the 80s when you grow up? I grew up in the 80s too, so maybe there's something that you can relate to?
Try to think what I can relate to. Well, I can certainly relate to, kind of the characters sort of maturing and coming of age. I can certainly relate to unrequited love and kind of wanting someone who may or may not have wanted me back, but having these complicated romantic relationships with. I can certainly relate to my mother disapproving of some of my choices that I made, and a complicated dynamics with my sister. So I think there's elements within it that feel not autobiographical, but at least sort of in the spirit of my own experience. And I think that the other thing that I try to bring to the show, that I try to bring to the things that I do, is the combination of comedy and emotion and heart, and hopefully something that ultimately people walk away feeling positive and good from. I think there's a lot of negativity in the world right now. There's a lot of dark shows out there. So to have a show with music and life and color, that's sort of a celebration of human connection in some ways, that's very much stuff that's all important to me.
Yeah, that's why that's what I love about the Acapulco, because of that. It's very difficult. It's very hard to find a show we have like heart, and I feel every episode I feel so good after watching. You know what I mean? It's just like Zoe's extra playlist. I feel good to watch that. I feel you just do a few good shows. That's good. Keep doing it. I love that.
I'll try my best.
Yes. What was like talking about challenges? You'll be like you're a producer, you wrote, and then you'll be doing all this stuff. What your biggest challenge this time around?
I think the biggest challenge this season was just, we have such a great ensemble cast on the show, and there's a lot of characters that we could honor and give storylines to. So I think the biggest challenge is just trying to make sure that everybody has their own arcs, everybody has their moments, that there's a tonal consistency between episodes, that we are doing that balance that we're talking about with comedy and hard and emotional moments. So I think just kind of always making sure that we're tracking all these different characters, that even though one scene there might be an emotional storyline happening and the next scene could be a big comedy moment, that it all feels of a piece with each other. I think that was the biggest challenge. And then not a challenge, but certainly something that we're always striving for and is very important to us, is authenticity. So authenticity at all times. And I think we get that by having a lot of Latinx representation in the writer's room, an entirely Mexican crew, the actors calling us on stuff that making sure that everything feels real. I think that it's very important, not only to me, but to Apple and everybody involved, that it's not cultural appropriation, but cultural specificity, and honoring the culture as much as possible. And so that's another element that we always try to bring into the work.
Yeah, that's very important to have this diversity, especially have like Mexican. I think that's great. That's why the show works. That's why the show is a very successful, and having you work with Eugenio, I think you pick the right actor and producer, like, because he does everything, and work with him. Like, how did you I don't know, like, how did you learn about him that you didn't know from before?
Yes, I knew about Eugenio before this movie. I don't think I knew quite how big he is. But I certainly was aware of him. I think I had seen a couple of his movies before this, hadn't seen some of his earlier TV stuff and some of the work he'd done in Mexico. But he's so giving he's just so wonderfully amazing with everybody, you know, and it doesn't matter who you are, wherever we go, whenever I'm with him, he's so warm and welcoming and open to everybody. And I don't know if I've seen a star that has his, you know, global awareness and appeal that is so much, I mean this in the best way, like a man of the people. He just really is, he takes time to get to know everybody and to hear your story, and really makes you feel like he cares. And he's just, I think you feel a lot of that on screen too. You know, I just think his heart comes through on screen, and he can be super funny, but he can also really make you care and get emotional. And I think that his emotional connection to this character and what he brings to it adds a whole deeper layer of weight and gravity to the storylines.
Yeah, I agree with you. I love him so much, and I think he connects with everybody. I'm not from Mexico, I'm from Brazil, and even though we have, like, sometimes when I speak with him, he always tries to bring me into he's always like, oh my God, you're Brazilian, but we are the same, and always connect with that. And everybody wants to know, are we gonna have a season 3 of Acapulco?
I certainly hope so. I will say that we are definitely in discussions for a season 3, and we have already started talking about different storylines and things that can happen in season 3. So nothing official yet, but I will say that season 2 ends on a bit of a cliffhanger. So there's certainly some doors open for new storylines and new things to happen in season 3. And we're feeling cautiously optimistic that we will get more.
Perfect. And before we go, aside from Acapulco, are you working any new projects, anything that you can talk about?
The big one that was announced recently is I'm doing a murder mystery kind of musical show with Andrew Lloyd Webber that takes place behind the scenes in the days leading up to a big live TV production of Phantom of the Opera. And so it's kind of a Knives Out type story, murder mystery, whodunit, set within the world of Phantom of the Opera. So that's exciting because it allows me to keep my musical side alive, and the fact that I get to work with him on such a beloved piece of theater and use all of the songs and the music from that show is a really amazing opportunity. So that's a big one that I'm working on right now.
That's amazing. Austin, I just want to thank you so much for your time. A pleasure to talk to you and to meet you, and
Absolutely.
keep
Thank
going
you so
because, as I said, I love all your style. I love your shows, and bring me all happiness. I love it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
If you like this video, don't forget to comment, to like, and subscribe to our channel right here.